we would record. Now, right now, what we're doing would be recorded, Amber or Wednesday or whatever, and put it on the website. Then everybody can watch it.
Right.
Could we do that? I mean,
Is it back on?
Yes, it's back on.
Can we stop the YouTube deal and do that?
Well,
I don't know if there's a statutory mandate that you have to have it live.
You know.
And so that you don't have to have it live. And I think what you're doing is trying to accommodate your citizens. I think we tried to make it live, at the same time we began to experience this whole thing with COVID. And,
we made it live back in 2019 due to an excess amount of people showing up for the meetings. And we did not have enough space in here, and they locked it down to 45 people. I'm not sure.
We got plenty of room, man. We don't, that's not a problem.
I understand. Mr. Cook, can you tell me what that number is? That 40?
40.
Okay. So we had excess people, and it was denied to have it streamed in the fire department for people to come. So that is when it became an online YouTube, and there was a camera that camera was installed. And then it just so happened, that was like September, would you say? Maybe? Like September of 19, and then all of a sudden COVID was March of 2020, and they shut the world down, and then we continued to do it due to, there were 10 people in the room and that was all, 6 feet apart. But I don't know.
still, it's not a statutory mandate.
Right.
We don't have to put it on YouTube live.
I would say that. I mean, anyone who wants to show up, they can.
That's right.
Mr. Overcash, once the new town clerk software is up and running with our new live stream caster, like we've already invested money into the caster. Once it is up and running, it will be live on our website, not through YouTube. So
Right, that's right.
as long as the connection is good, if we can figure that out, the MiFi seems to be doing better than what the Wi-Fi in this particular room is doing. We shouldn't have any issues, but we're not going to know until this new live streaming software that we already bought is up and running. So it may be something that we have to wait until we try and see how that's going to work. I don't know how recording a video and then uploading it to our new town clerk software on our website will work. I don't even know if that's possible. It's just something I would have to ask.
Okay.
My next question would be is, just to clarify, so everybody has this knowledge. The internet itself, is there just one hub of internet for town hall that also supplies the fire department and this room? Or are there like 3 separate routers, or just?
I am not an IT expert, and I have left that to DC3 and the staff that we have that knows more about it. I would say that we have worked with our provider to get the best reception that we can get. Now, is it currently in that state? I do not know.
Okay, so I would think that we would need a router here. I think that is the disconnect. I think there's, a vault right there. There's something going on.
Well, there's wire I do know that there is wire that brings it through the ceiling in different areas here.
Right, I understand, but I'm thinking that at some point we're going to have our own so that it's not trying to pull from somewhere else. So if they're doing something over there and say somebody's still over there working, there's a disconnect. It happens in my house all the time because it's old and we have these little things split up everywhere to spread it out. I think that needs to be a question that we ask BC3 on. Do we need our own router, our own?
We have talked to BC3 about the internet connection.
Right.
Can certainly go back and ask them again.
Have they ever come in here and set a laptop up and you've seen
Yes,
how,
we have.
and it worked?
They have gotten different readings based on when they were here.
Well, I know in some of our property, we got some big stuff. You see the little boxes hanging on the wall with the 2 little antennas sticking out. There's 8 or 10 of them over in the walls. Scattered around. But I don't see anything in here. So I don't know much about it. But if we can do an in-house system and save $10,000 and load it up on the website, that'd be my thoughts. We
All
don't have to be live.
Moving on to 6.5.
But we do have, you got, that we tabled it till August. Okay. All right, moving to 6.5.
6.5 is consider use of the town website for nonprofit advertisements. Over the past couple of months, Chase and I have each individually received multiple requests from various nonprofit organizations, like a group that wants to work with the veterans to offer assistance to them for counseling or those type things, and the Alzheimer's Association. Periodically, nonprofit organizations will call into the town and ask if we would be willing to post their information on our website. To do that, we need direction from you as to whether that's something you support or you don't. And likely we would put it on a new page that would just give them an opportunity to say, local agencies for your assistance, something to that nature. Certainly your call, we just want a direction on how you would like to proceed with that.
So do you know if any other municipalities do this?
Specifically, the municipality that I came from, they have what's called municipal partners, and they have a page for that. Partners that have sponsored city programs, like basically, if you've done something for the town, then the town advertises for you and provides, non-monetary services in that nature. As far as unequivocated, as far as one-way support, I'm not sure. I could look into that.
Have any discussions?
This wouldn't just like pop up on the page, would it? You have to click on a tab to go to that.
Correct, correct.
I think if we put like a partners in community or something to that effect for entities like in your example, the Alzheimer's Support Center or veterans or anything that's collectively helping a broad range of citizens that is nonprofit in nature, that's non-monetary in request. I have no issue in supporting our community partners. That's essentially our essence.
I think we could add a disclaimer that says we are in no way supporting or not supporting. We are just offering space for the.
We're just offering an avenue on the website. Jump on.
Well, do you vet these folks when they make a request? I mean, is there some?
I think that is the concern.
Initial investigation?
That is the concern.
The town wouldn't vet them with it.
I think you would if you're gonna put it on your website.
I think that's what we're asking for here is that kind of direction. As the board would like to see a policy drafted on how to handle these requests moving forward, we can.
We would have future policies.
Yeah, I think that there definitely needs to be some type of policy. I read this. I've been on Alderman, I've been on Salisbury, Kannapolis, and our local China Grove. And nobody has that on there. I'm not saying that we can't, but I think that we have to have a policy. If anybody will go back to the policy that we put in play, I think in March or April regarding donations, that is fizzled. And we were getting one like every other month or every month.
So the intent of staff this evening was to get direction on whether you had any interest or not. Certainly not that you say with a blanket blind thing to go do it, but do you have an interest in it, or would you just like to not do it? Either one is fine, we just needed direction.
Some people who are moving here have no idea what in this area for nonprofits.
Correct.
So I think for clarity, if the board is interested in entertaining these offers, we can draft a policy for the board's review on how to handle these moving at the next board meeting. Otherwise, if the board is not interested, we could just move forward with the procedure of refusing these offers.
Mayor Board, I move that we consider the use of town website for nonprofit advertisement. and entertain a draft policy from administration to us at next board meeting.
I'll second.
All right, and no more discussion? All those in favor?
Uh,
We will now move to 6.6.
6.6 is the fire department update and subsequent action. This evening, we have with us our public safety director, Dr. Lachetti, who has an update on where we are with the fire department.
All right, good evening.
we got any paper on? Oh, in there. Okay, we'll have nothing on there.
That's just a verbal update, I believe.
Okay.
So,
114 in your agenda.
so as you recall, back in April, we proposed as a public safety department to consolidate our fire stations, Station 44 and 58. After that approval, through the last 3 months, we've been working on that process with the Office of the State Fire Marshal, gathering our resources and doing our research on how we go about facilitating that process. When we initially proposed this, there were really 3 main initiatives we're looking at bringing to you for the benefit of the consolidation. One of those benefits dealt with the aspect of personnel. So if you have a primary station in North Carolina, you must have a minimum of 15 personnel. For every additional station, additional 4 personnel are required. So as it stood at the time, back in April when we presented this, we have to have a minimum of 19 personnel. Currently on our state roster, we have 19 personnel. We're kind of always hovering around that minimum number because, as you are aware, the current environment, economics, politics, whatever the case might be, volunteerism has kind of declined. Of course, we have a full-time staff and a handful of part-time folks who are always hovering around that 19 personnel. So, case in point, one reason being the consolidation being proposed was having one station, undoubtedly to us, would lead us to believe we could have 15 personnel. Second reason was economical, in the sense that we operate out of one station primarily here at Town Hall, Station 44, where we have our full-time staff always here on duty. So we have a lot of equipment that might not be necessarily being used to its full advantage. So, and what I mean by that is, yes, a lot of the equipment is paid for. However, there's maintenance, there's fuel costs, there's insurance, there's equipment that has to be maintained on the truck for state requirements. And then there's annual pump testing and things that go along with keeping a truck that we may not put many miles on each year. So looking at our fleet, another proposed benefit of the consolidation was being able to downsize some of our fleet, reduce those costs, and ultimately, for the third point, is how do we help fund a purchase of a new engine. So part of that was if we consolidate stations, we lower our personnel costs, we can also lower overall overhead costs, potentially, with selling certain apparatus, and then the sale of proceeds of that may benefit us as a town financially when it comes to buying a big ticket item, such as a new fire engine. So we've been looking at all of that over the last 3 months, and I'm just kind of summarizing the benefits of why we proposed the consolidation. So initially, we got the information that consolidation for the municipality was a process that was easy to undertake. Basically, we have a primary station, and we have our apparatus, and we can park that apparatus wherever we want. And that was what we were led to believe initially. However, after we got into the weeds with it, we started doing more research, we started taking more concrete steps to help facilitate this process. One thing that came up is basically a matter of contention in the definition of general statute, or the articles that govern fire departments. And that is the definition of a station. So literally, what we found out going into this and doing more research is the definition of the station has kind of handcuffed us in the sense that we may not get the benefits that we anticipated without some give and take. So case in point, we found out that while we could consolidate, leaving the ladder over at station where it's currently 58 and not having it be a station was fine. However, we would not get credit for the ladder responding to the scenes of emergencies, to fire calls, to things of that nature, because by statute and by the articles the way it's written, as we've delved deeper into this, in order to get credit for that apparatus, even if it shows up, it has to leave from a station. Well, unfortunately, as you all are aware, we can't fit that ladder over here. So we looked at other options. How can we get that ladder to leave from a station? Now, unfortunately, given the length of our apparatus, given the size of our bays, it's just not practical to have it over here. So I say all that to say this, the benefit of downsizing to have a lesser requirement on personnel does not seem feasible at this point because we'll lose credit for the ladder. So if that's not a station over there, we won't get credit for the ladder. Obviously, we want to have credit for the ladder. It's a big investment the town has paid for, and there's merit to having that as far as ISO purposes in response to certain calls that we might get. So we don't want to disregard the benefit of having a ladder. So that leads us back to leaving that as a station. So tonight I come to you with some more research and some things that have kind of been more fleshed out as we've gone through the last 3 months. And tonight my recommendation to you would be to leave Station 44 and Station 58 as 2 stations. And what I'll say about that is currently everything's kind of on hold with the state. Nothing hasn't been closed, so to speak, so we don't have to really undo anything. The state is just waiting on the final direction on how we want to handle this new development. Because they realize that this is something that needed to have more consideration, the ladder not being counted should it be somewhere that wasn't a station. So at this point, given our limitations and size of bays and not being able to move the ladder over here, and obviously having a need for it in the town, I would recommend leaving both stations. Unfortunately, it doesn't help us with the lesser requirement for personnel. However, I'm sure we have more opportunities to try to recruit more public safety officers, try to get more people who are fire certified. We can also look at maybe more recruitment with volunteerism, and hopefully post-COVID that will increase, and maybe look at more part-time positions in the future. So I'm not really too concerned about that. I just want you to know that's where we usually hover. So that's not necessarily a big concern. The other thing I would recommend to you tonight, to hit my earlier point, is I'd recommend leaving both stations as they are, but I'd still recommend surplusing the equipment we mentioned previously. And for the reasons I just gave. That equipment typically is being underutilized. I think that it's a major financial drain on the town because we're paying insurance, we're paying maintenance, we're paying for equipment, we're paying for things that we're not getting any use out of, quite frankly. And I think that as a town, if we're looking at down the road, 18, 24, 36 months, with previously approved items such as the purchase of a new fire engine, I think if we still want to surplus that equipment, that can still go towards that goal. So I'd still recommend surplusing engine 581, engine 442, and car 44. We've already sold brush 447. So with that in mind, that would be my recommendation tonight, is because nothing has been completed with this new information, I would recommend that we just leave Station 4458. But I would still recommend for the financial aspect to surplus those pieces of equipment. And I'll be happy to answer any questions anyone may have. And Squad 58, thank you guys.
Okay, so I know I have this. Squad 58.
Correct. Engine 442, engine 581.
And hold on, engine 442?
Yes, engine 581.
581.
Brush 447. And car 44. Now, Rush 447 has actually already been sold. That was up on Gov Deals, and that has taken place.
Okay, and what?
It was, Rush 447 was shown to be worth $50,000.
So, as you may recall, back in April, we had these initial conversations. I believe at that time, our estimated value was $50,000 for Brush 47. As you've heard tonight, the market's changing practically daily. We're at the end of a fiscal year. We just started a new fiscal year. A lot of municipalities, they come and go with what their needs are. So while we estimated $50,000 for Brush 447, we ultimately got it for $40,000 sold.
Sold it for $40,000.
Correct.
$10,000 less than what we thought it was worth.
Less than our estimated value. Correct.
What would it cost to replace that truck today? $200,000.
No, I wouldn't think so. Look, someone just bought our truck for $40,000.
Yes.
So, I wouldn't think it'd be that much.
So,
Okay.
so I wanted to also,
We sold the truck for $10,000 less than what we thought it was worth. So is all of them gonna sell for that? You got the Freightliner was 80, we're gonna sell it for 60.
Yes, so if I may.
What's the bid? Didn't we have a reserve set on?
Yeah, so as you are well aware, obviously, we put engine 581 on gov deals.
That would be 581 is what? Freightliner?
Correct.
Okay.
We put on gov deals for 2 cycles. Each cycle was a 2-week period. So for 4 weeks, we put it on gov deals and we did not sell it. We initially thought the value of 80,000 was what we thought it was worth when we presented it. We lowered the reserve on the second amount so we could get more interest at 60,000. Ultimately, I believe our highest bid was in the teens. So we know that we're not going to see the market we want for it on gov deals. So as of today, the only item we've sold is Brush 447. Nothing is currently listed for sale at the moment because we're seeing that the market has fluctuated and a lot of our estimated values are not coming in quite as high as we thought.
That's good.
So I wanted to speak just a few minutes to you about the vote that you took earlier to surplus these pieces of equipment. That estimate for those has changed significantly for all of those pieces of equipment. That has a direct impact, along with the rise in interest rates, on what you can get for your money, excuse me, on a fire truck. So, tonight we're providing you with an opportunity to decide whether you want to consolidate your fire department and what you want to do with your equipment. I, in good conscience, think that you need to be aware that the equipment that you currently have costs us a lot of money every year to just keep on our insurance, to keep it running periodically, to make sure that we're keeping it at a running state. I mean, every piece of equipment needs to be run periodically in order to keep it in good repair. To pay for any repairs, it has to be done for that. And then a lot of our equipment, in my opinion, is not used very often. With that said, neither can you get a lot of money for it at this particular time. So I would advise the board to at least be aware that the fire department is in current negotiations. Obviously, we'll not do anything without bringing it to you. They are talking with manufacturers about a new fire truck. You appropriated or dedicated $300,000 for potential down payment. We were under the impression that there would be a significant amount of money from selling these various apparatuses. And at the time, the interest rates were significantly lower, probably at least half of what they are now. The cost for that fire truck is going up daily based on supply chain issues and what it costs to get a fire truck. The cost to us is going up daily as interest rates rise, and your cash availability is going down. So I would recommend that you, at the very least, revisit that situation, or if you want to advise us, obviously it's up to you on what you want to do with these particular apparatuses. But as a town manager and a former finance officer, I am significantly concerned about purchasing a fire truck with the payment where it might end up being, and a down payment of $300,000 in a truck that keeps escalating daily.
So if you don't mind, elaborate on, say, what do we need to review as it relates? Are you suggesting that we still need to surplus even if it's at 10% or 20% of value?
I think that's completely up to you. I mean, I don't think you're going to get very much for it. And when you don't get very much for it, you now don't have the down payment that you thought you were going to have to purchase a new fire truck. And new fire trucks are going up. People are using their ARPA funds, and they're costing more. Every time we talk to a manufacturer, they cost more, and your interest rates are going up as well, which means that the payment on what was going to be a $500,000 loan is now going to be double what it was when we first started this conversation in February or March.
I would like to see a lot more research done on this whole thing before it was all presented the way it was presented. We were told these fire trucks were so valuable. My question was, well, why would we get rid of them then? That four-door Freightliner would cost about $700,000 today if you bought it. The reason I don't like it, it's got a four-door cab, extended cab, and it's not as short as the other truck, And so you have to be careful going around corners. There's nothing wrong with the truck. It is properly equipped to fight fire. All of them are. They couldn't have been decided not to be properly equipped, and we wouldn't have got our rate lowered from 4 to a 2. I think it's rushed through too quick. I don't like to see people coming in and upset the basket full of eggs because they think they got a better idea. The 2 stations were working fine, and we were given wrong information about the number of volunteers or paid firemen for each station. I found out the next day after we had the last meeting, you didn't have to have 4 people for satellite stations. You didn't have to have 19. And we need to remember, all these are recommendations from the NFPA. It is not law. And you do the best you can with what you got.
So I will comment on that. The 19 is in statute. That is statutorily required.
One, yeah.
For R2, because one station is 15, and the 4 additional makes it 19. So,
But it's still a recommendation.
no, that is a state requirement.
Well, they're not gonna shut you down if you don't need it. There's nobody ever been shut down. Not one fire station has ever been shut down.
Well, I beg to differ, but,
Well, I beg to differ. I didn't like the thing from the start. The other station was a reason why it was over there. And that's because of the train traffic and a lot of things that could happen.
well, in good faith, the
I
proposal
think a
was
lot of
brought
people
and
should have been consulted about this ahead of time, before this ever came up.
well, and I will let you know that we did our research. This was
Well,
thought
you
out.
got the wrong information, not
Well,
not your
and
fault.
unfortunately, things don't always pan out like we intended. Everything was done in good faith. There was nothing nefarious about it. We were looking at benefits to the citizenry as far as cost savings, being more efficient with our personnel. And as we went on, we spent the last 3 months delving into it. We've learned that that's not what it ended up being, which is why tonight I'm here to fully accept responsibility that I was wrong, that I didn't have all the information, and I'll provide you the update so you can make a more informed decision. Now, I think at the time, it was, in my opinion, still the best option because of the personnel requirement and the equipment that, quite frankly, doesn't get used. And I think other municipalities, departments could benefit from it, as could we, by lowering our costs and helping provide for a future fire engine. So I would still make that my recommendation. But after looking at it further, I realized that the case is, quite frankly, not the best interest at this time.
And I don't like scare tactics about interest rates and this, that, going up, going down. There's a whole lot of things can change, in the period coming up. I don't,
Why is that equipment not being used?
Well, as you know, we have 1 staff on duty. We have 3 full-time
We
firemen.
got 3 guys stays here.
Correct.
Yep. Okay. Do we have living quarters across the railroad tracks at that station?
No.
There's nobody could stay over there?
There's no private quarters anymore,
Could there be some put over there?
potentially.
Then they could rotate from this station to that station and use them trucks, rotate back and forth.
There's not a adequate living quarters there. The heating and cooling would be sufficient. There's only 1 bathroom. There's no kitchen, no kitchenette. I think it would take quite a bit of upfitting
Could the freight liner be parked over here?
yeah, but then we have to take something out of here.
Take the old Seagraves that nobody likes the Seagraves. It smokes, it's an open cab, it
there's
ain't
no air
equipped,
conditioner.
it looks bad, there's no air conditioning. Take it back over there, bring the freight liner over here and drive in. 443 gets run to death,
Well, I'll tell you that
run to death.
443 won't fit at Station 58. I'm not 100% sure if the Seagrave will.
Leave 443 here. Take the Seagraves over there,
That's where we
Seagraves
used to
shoulder.
have it.
Well, 581 is quite long, and there's gear lockers. So there's gear lockers there. So I think we'd have to look at the
If
size.
the freight liner would fit up here, bring it up here and use it, leave 443 parked a little bit.
Quite frankly, that's an operational decision. Tonight,
Use-
I'm here to
use-
give you
use
an
the stuff.
update.
It's got, what, 19,000, 30,000? What's on it, Mayor? You got to take it right over. I got mine. That's every truck. How many miles on?
Says 28,250.
28,000 miles on a fire truck.
Truck and
Kannapolis has
broken
got
in.
fire trucks with 150, 60, 70,000 miles on them. They run them every day. They ride them all, everywhere, all day, ride them all the time. 150,000 miles.
May I interject here as well?
Sure.
for purposes of the surplus of the items that were in your presentation in April when we voted to consolidate 58.
Correct.
We've sold 447
That's the only
for
item.
$40,000.
Correct.
We
Give it away. You didn't sell it,
we
give it away.
have had engine 581 two iterations on gov deals,
No reserve.
but yet the only bid was in the teens. I think you mentioned, right?
Correct.
So my question may revolve around some finances of it with our allocation of the funds, 300,000 from ARPA to go towards the down payment of the truck. When would our principal and interest payments start on the truck? At what point? Do we know? Is
Well,
it once it's ordered, or are we paying
no, you don't,
P&I payments?
until you receive it, I don't think you would have a payment,
Okay,
and that's probably 2 years out.
all right, so perfect, great. Who knows what the interest rate or market's gonna do until then, both from the Fed and private market. But my question is, like for engine 581, if somebody's offering 15 or 16, is that just too low? Is it worth us to hold on to it until the market
I do
turns
think,
around a little bit
I do think at this point it's too low.
on the secondary market?
So some more recent comparables, different than what we saw in April 30s. We're looking at 30s or what co-signers, consignment type institutions are selling that truck for, 36, 37,000. I mean, it's half of what we are expecting, which is obviously why it's not for sale currently, because we know it's worth more than that. More than what was our highest bid on gov deals.
So let me ask,
Okay.
let me make sure, okay. Engine 442 cannot go anywhere until the new engine is here. And 443 would be moved over to take the spot of 442. And then we would have a new engine come into play. So you are going to keep 442 per 2 years if a fire truck is ordered. Okay, so it was a staggered, I had to ask the question because I thought that when the three of us gave, hey, surplus, I assumed that everything would be surplus all at one time. However, you can't surplus everything at one time because if you have to have enough pumping capacity for ISOs, you have to keep 442 to have enough. So 442 is not going to go anywhere or be posted until we would get a new fire truck.
And that's correct. Our initial plan was to sell all the equipment, but specifically sell the brush truck,
Right.
the squad,
Right.
and engine 581.
And the car.
And the car.
Right.
And then after the new engine come in, then engine 442 would be next.
Right, and that would go, but it could possibly stay here for 2 years, depending on what dealer they went with and how long production would be to get that apparatus. So, I mean,
I think, and I have to go back and double check, I think actually, with the ladder in play, we would probably still meet our pumping capacity.
Okay.
But the problem with that is the ladder is not gonna be able to get to a lot of our water points on rural roads. So keeping engine 442 is a great pumping truck and can get to those locations where we need it. So that was kind of the game plan and maintaining that until a new engine.
Has it been considered to divest the ladder truck so that consolidation of 58 could happen?
It is an option, potentially.
I'm not saying I'm for or against, I'm just saying, has it been
Yes,
Has it
it
been
has
discussed?
been discussed.
just curious, playing devil's advocate?
So there is an option where the ladder can be sold. That would require me to do a little bit more fact checking and make sure I have all the information for you. But basically, we could get our ladder coverage from our mutual aid partners, Kannapolis and China Grove, and still meet our ladder requirement for our fire districts. And of course, then you'd have one station. But that is an option that is conceivable with more research.
When we got the ladder, it was to help reduce the ISO points to reduce our fire rating.
And I don't know how much that would affect it if we had an automatic aid or mutual aid in lieu of the ladder. You get a portion of the full credit I don't know if it'd be so much of a detriment to affect our rating, but you don't get the full credit. You get a portion of the credit for it being a mutual aid.
All right, is there any more discussion? At this time, do I have a motion to not consolidate, say, Station 58, leave it as a certified station, and a motion to sell off equipment? Squad 58, engine 442, Freightliner 581, and car 44. Do I have a motion?
I don't think that all should be put together like that.
Okay.
Consolidation station.
Okay, that's fine. We can separate it out. Do I have a motion to not consolidate Station 58 and leave it as a certified station?
So,
I have a second. I have a motion and I have a second from Ms. Bell. At this time, I'll go around the room. Alderman Stewart,
yes.
Alderman Coyer,
Yes.
Alderwoman Fells,
Yes.
Alderman Overcash.
Yes.
Motion passes. At this time, we will have the second motion to sell off equipment to be surplus. Squad 58, engine 442, Freightliner 581, car 44, sorry. Do I need to include the brush, even though the brush has already been sold? No?
Because technically we did that in April.
Well,
So the brush truck has been sold. However, it has not been transferred.
let's include it if possible. Brush 447. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Wait a minute.
The motion is to continue in the surplus process
yes.
of brush
Okay,
447,
yes, okay,
squad
yes,
car 581.
Okay, yeah, I second that.
Okay. Second from Alderwoman Fells. At this time, I will go around the room. Yay or nay, Alderman Stewart?
Proceed with current list of surpluses. Yay.
Mr. Coyer?
Nay.
Alderwoman Fells?
Yes.
Alderman Overcash?
No.
Mayor? Yes. Motion passes to surplus items listed. We will now move to item 6.7, which is,
On page 19
Yes.
of your, package,
4.1.
asset disposition policy. So we are continuing to bring you policies that are necessary for the effective operation of the town. Because many of these necessary policies could not be found when this administration arrived, we received some abbreviated policies that got us through until we were in a position to produce more comprehensive policies. Mr. Norwood, our finance officer, is continuing to review what we have and update as necessary. Tonight, you have for your approval an asset disposition policy to replace our current surplus property policy. This policy contains everything we had in the surplus property policy that you had previously approved and adds language to address real property. If you have any questions, Mr. Norwood will be glad to answer those.
Okay, do we have any discussion at this time?
I have one, I think could be just an easy clerical question on page 21 of your packet. Surplus property over 30,000, and then surplus property 15 and $1 to 30,000. Shouldn't the verbiage be the same, or is the first sentence on the second subsection reads, property within this range must be declared surplus by the Board of Aldermen at a regular meeting, whereas the surplus property over 30,000, the first bullet point does not say that. Is there a difference, or is it the same assumption?
That's a good catch. It should be the same, what's under 15,001 and 30,000 is what's declared so far.
That's what I kind of thought, so I just wanted to make sure.
I apologize, I can correct that.
I didn't want to assume, so therefore I just wanted to make that quick.
That means it needs to be at a regular meeting.
Okay. What's the discussion, guys?
My discussion on this asset disposition policy, I would like to have some more conversations other than just addressing it without conversations with you all. And I'd like to table it until next month.
Me too.
I agree. Okay, so do I have a motion to table what was 4.1 moved to 6.7?
Mayor Board, I move that we table the asset disposition policy until next month.
I'll second.
Mr. Poirier? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion. Give me just a second. August?
Yes. Next month.
Okay, we will now move on to reports. And we will have 7.1.
So we have a public safety monthly update. Mayor, if it pleases the board, I would like to just list these. We have a public safety monthly update, a sale of fixed assets, a draft of the stormwater management plan, a monthly financial report, and a manager's report. I am happy to go through those in detail if you would like, or just address them as the board would prefer.
So are you asking us to,
I mean, sometimes
nothing
we
needs
go
to be
through
approved,
these.
but nothing needs to be approved. So if there's no questions under reports, we will move to number 8.
Well, I did want to offer one piece of information on the stormwater management plan. The stormwater management plan is required. We have to have a stormwater management plan approved by the Department of Environmental Quality. And prior to this month, we did not have that submitted and approved as appropriate. The Department of Environmental Quality at the state level is currently going through a significant reorganization with multiple retirements and have frozen approval of those management plans. So I didn't want there to be confusion on what you have in your package. The draft of the stormwater management plan is not a draft for your approval. It stays in draft mode until the state approves it. So it's not something that would come to you for approval. It's something that we submit to the state. That now puts us in compliance and in good standing with the state at this point. They are comfortable with where we are with our stormwater program.
Will we sign for that?
No, we will not.
Okay. All right, moving on to 8.1. I'll go to board comments. I'm gonna do it different. I'm gonna start. We have National Night Out coming up on August the 2nd. We will have some fun things for a lot of different age groups. It will be located at the soccer fields at the YMCA, and there will be fireworks that night displayed for our citizens and all who attend. And so we would like to welcome each of you to come. It'll be a fun night held by all. There will be a Dunkin' booth, and there might be some pies in the face, and some fun things that some of you might want to participate in. I also would like to thank Jessica for the last cruise-in for, I guess, July. We'll move to August, but it was a fun night. I think a lot of people had fun. I know the rain kind of ran a few people off, but I think the people that did come back and stay had a blast. It was a good time. Something else I was gonna say. I think that's it. I'll move to Alderman Stewart.
No comment.
All right, Mr. Hoyer? Alderwoman Bell?
I want the citizens to know there's a lot going on uptown. There's a new coffee shop. If you come down Main Street, the old soap company is bringing life down that direction. They're gonna be having a craft fair at the end of July, so people come out for that.
Mr. Everbush?
I'd like to thank Jessica and all the staff for the hard work at the car show and the band. That was good. I enjoyed it. I think a lot of people showed up and enjoyed it, so that's all I got.
All right, at this time, do we have, a motion for closed session?
Mayor Board, I move we enter into enter into closed session.
I'll say it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.